Welcome back. We are here with Jeneen Miller, author and producer. She's here promoting her book, Pieces of Victory, about childhood abuse. Now, we want to start with the beginning. Now, Jeneen, where did you grow up?
I grew up in Hollywood, California, and then my parents moved to Newbury Park, Thousand Oaks area in California, which is completely opposite end of the spectrum, but nice and quiet.
Basic, normal neighborhood.
Yes.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
And as growing up as a little girl, what kind of hobbies or interests did you have?
Artwork, sketching, writing, imagine that.
An author liking to write. Who would have thought it? Now, and in school, did you participate in any sports or group activities?
Well, I really wasn't well-rounded. In third grade, cello.
Oh, the cutest thing in the world. A little girl with a monstrous cello. You can't beat that. Now, I have to know, because getting into the book, how old were you when the abuse first started?
I was very young. I was mentally tortured, I feel, which caused psychological damage, and that escalated into the statutory rape by a family member.
Oh, and I'm sorry you had to go through that. Now, is there anything you can tell other children who are out there who are finding themselves in the same situation? Any advice you could give them?
That's a good question. Because of the fact that my parents didn't believe me when I confided in them, I'm more gearing towards reaching out to a school counselor, to your school, a teacher, someone who is educated, because not all parents are educated, and they may not believe you because of being misinformed. And I would say start with that, and then they can take it from there and then bring the parents into the equation.
Very good advice. And I would like to take this time, if I could, to say boys and girls are being abused at home. And I would like to tell them, if you're watching or if you somehow come across this, it's not your fault. You stay strong, you find somebody you can count on. But the main thing I want you to take from this is that it's not your fault. Now, when at the school, when did you realize something was going wrong?
Immediately, I was taken into where the pastor so-called greeted me and told me I was causing my parents enough trouble. And then I was escorted into where the showers were to delouse. And I was angry at being in prison for going above and beyond the call of duty of, studying, and I was angry, and they said that they wanted to take me to the room of isolation, and they did. They dragged me over to the room of isolation after that.
So instead of dealing with the situation head on, they just decided to make it your problem. Exactly. Now, when at this school, they were saying something about conversion therapy. What is that exactly?
Conversion therapy, it was not at my particular school, but there are conversion therapies out there. I can go into how this preacher would segregate and belittle anyone who is gay, and but that's a whole different topic altogether. Conversion therapies are mainly when parents can't accept their child for being gay, whether the church is frowning upon it, and then they're isolating these children into these conversion therapies to make them straight. It's oppressing them, it's telling them, I'm not accepting who you are. You're abandoning your child. So without the abuse that goes on in these conversion therapies, just the psychological damage of separating your child from the family is so sad.
I can imagine. I can only imagine.
And with James Swift, I'll use him as an example. He's the author of Rusted Rhinestones. And I had to put down that book several times. I couldn't even read it. It was so horrific what they did to him. They put a hoodie on. I mean, this is the United States of America. This happened in Louisiana. They put a hoodie on him, and they put him into New Bethany and put him in a cage and gave him dog food and as a privilege, and they sodomized him, and it was just really sad. that goes on here.
And that was going on?
That was going on in New Bethany in Louisiana.
So they had all these different places around here that are doing these.
And that is actually a sister program to Victory Christian Academy, by the way. It's in Louisiana, and they were beating girls in the girls' school. Beating girls, beating the boys. They were in separate homes for boys, right. Home for girls. And this was under the flag of Christianity. And I'm not, trying to point out that all schools under religion are abusing children. It doesn't matter, religious, non-religious, licensed, unlicensed. I'm not going after religion. What I am going after are people who are abusing children. That's the problem.
And that's something we have to put a stop to.
And if it just so happens that you hide under Christianity, I'm going after the abusers.
And as well you should. Now, what steps did you take to overcome the abuse?
Good question. I put myself through counseling. I left home at 17, so I got away from the abuse. And I ended up going to a family who was kind enough to accept me into their heart until I moved out at the age of 18. But I used that time to go to counseling, find a job, and take care of myself and become an independent woman.
And slowly rebuild yourself.
Exactly.
I'm proud of you, young lady.
Thank you.
We have a trailer of Pieces of Victory. It's a short film. We'd like for you to take a look.
Most people would think my life was perfect. I was a good student. I was in love with a wonderful guy. I had hope. So why do so many happy stories have a dark side? The unthinkable happened.
I'm not making this up. Why would you guys think that?
I know him. He would never do anything like this. I mean, are you so desperate for attention? Jesus, if you keep talking like that, if she keeps talking like that, you're going to bring a lot of disgrace onto this family.
Do you have any proof? I mean, why are you just telling us about this now?
Proof? Why would I need to prove something like this to you guys?
Prove it. I mean, why would anybody say anything like this without proof? You're wasting everybody's time.
What is wrong with you guys? Why can't you believe me?
Oh, I'm tired of listening to you. Get out of my face. I'm tired of your games.
I'm telling
I
the
said
truth,
I'm tired of your games. Get out of my face.
What's wrong with this girl?
I was betrayed by the ones who were supposed to love and protect me.
You know what? Enough's enough. Make the call.
Little did I know, it would get worse.
You have given your parents enough trouble, and you will be here for a solid year. There will be no visitors, no phone calls, no other forms of communication. Your life as you know it is over!
I thought I was being sent to hell, but it was much worse than that.
What is this? What are you doing?
You don't like to follow the rules, so it is time for a chat.
Wait, please, wait! Please, I'll do whatever you say, just please stop! Please, ow! Wait, please stop! Say please, I'll listen, I promise, please!
How could they put me here? What did I do so wrong? It's hard to believe that I might have been happy at one point in my life.
Do you love me?
Of course I do. Je t'aime.
Damn. How long are we gonna be together?
How long is forever?
Why?
Looking at that trailer, it comes off very intense. The director, who was directing this movie?
Oh, that's a good question. My director is Regine Pearson. He is so talented. He took my vision and he brought it to fruition on camera.
And just from watching the trailer, I am intrigued and I am frightened at what else is going on in America underneath our noses, and we're not even aware of it. Now, back to the school you were in. What kind of things were going on in there that nobody knew about?
These are like POW camps here in America. My particular school, girls were locked in isolation for days, weeks, and months at a time. They were threatened to eat their own vomit if they were to vomit. You had to eat everything on your plate. You were timed to eat. It was very militant and abusive. You had to watch everything that you did, what you said. You did not have your freedom at all. Minimum and maximum security prison seems like a picnic compared to the lack of rights we had in this place. I couldn't make a phone call. I couldn't write. You had to write your parents twice a week and it was monitored and that was it. You couldn't see your parents for 3 months. And what they do is they isolate the parents from the children so they can mold the children the way they want. And it's highly abusive.
I'm sorry you had to go through that, young lady. And if I'm not mistaken, there's some new legislation being reintroduced or introduced. Can you tell us about that?
Yes, this is an epidemic that's happening across our nation. I wish, my particular residential program, reform school that I was locked in, was an isolated incident, but unfortunately it is not. It is across this nation. It's international, but let's just start with our nation.
Right.
And we are trying to pass a federal bill. It started in 2015 by George Miller in California, and he retired, and now Adam Schiff has reintroduced it. It passed twice in the House, and then it stops in the Senate. We need to pass this federal bill, and it needs to be done.
Let's get out there and help these kids. Now, as a society, how do we put an end to these programs?
That's a good question too. Survivors of institutional abuse, sia-now.org. You can donate to that. We can try to pass the bill. That'll try to put an end to this. Awareness is key. And that's what I'm trying to do with my book. I'm trying to do that with my short film and possible Hollywood movie.
Now, Jeneen, what sets your book apart from the other books that are out there?
My book is a little different. I do talk about the abuse, but while I'm locked in isolation, I reflect back on what my life was like before, and I go into a love story. And all of it's nonfiction about the abuse, and then when I go into the love story, it's a contrast of dark and light. I didn't want my book to be completely dark. One, I needed to be able to cope while writing it, and I needed a contrast. But life is a contrast, isn't it? We have dark, we have light, and I needed to reach for the light, and so I reflected back on a love story. And that's primarily what kept me together in this place, is holding on to that love.
That is very inspiring. Whatever you're going through, make sure you have the light that's inside of you to guide you through the darkness. Because no matter what you do, it's always you that's there. And if you can find a positive within yourself, it'll guide you through whatever darkness comes ahead. How can we find your book? Because your book is going to help a lot of people who are overcoming different things in their life. So how can we find your book?
You can find it on piecesofvictory.com. Go to piecesofvictory.com and it'll be on many platforms. It'll be on iBooks, Amazon, and eventually audio.
Jeneen Miller, thank you very much for your time. This has been Jeneen Miller, and we'll be right back.
Thank you.
Janine, thank you.
Thank you so much.
That's good. I'll squeeze it in there.
Awesome.
You were fantastic.
Oh,
This
so
is not
were
your
you.
First time, young lady. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I knew it was going to be good because I know your personality and you're perfect for this.
My girl.
How